Today, we will we will start with module 1, which is Introduction to Psychological Science, specifically literature reviews. And today we will be looking into what is a literature review, which kinds of literature review we have, what are the protocols that we need to follow in order to conduct a literature review, the kind of pre-registration that you need to make for conducting one, and we will also look a little bit into research strategies that you can use in order to start with a literature review. So at the end of this session, we will be conducting a practice. So I will try to go fast into the material so we have a little bit of time to perform a practice at the end. Okay? So basically, we can ask, how can we actually define personality growth? We can ask if this construct, this term, is actually the way most people is referring when they try to describe the phenomena. Or maybe there is another concept that can be an umbrella term like personality development. And we can ask many questions about this phenomenon of personality growth, including post-trauma growth. Like a lot of the literature is mentioning that it exists and you can grow after trauma, but then some results are not clear. So we don't know if really this phenomena exists. So these kind of things, if we don't do some research about that, we are just speculating, right? If we want, we can have a construct in psychology, and then in order to measure it, to measure that psychological construct, we need to make a operationalization in order to measure it, right? For example, we can start with constructs like virtue development, for example, or spiritual growth, or post-traumatic growth, or personality growth. But then we need to establish what kind of dimensions are actually part of this phenomena. And when obviously we can speculate, we can hear from the expert. And as we already discussed in our workshop, there are many elements. For example, in personality growth, we know the big five, for example, is an element that is often measured. For example, conscientiousness, an increase in this trait. We also saw that emotion regulation plays a role, self-awareness, positive coping strategies, for example. So all of these are dimensions in ways that we could actually measure a big construct like personality growth. However, at this point are just speculations because we don't have empirical evidence telling us if these dimensions are actually playing a role and how are they playing a role. So in order to tackle this issue, and in order to actually base our research in empirical data, psychological science has a specific way to tackle this issue. And it is psychological science can use a systematic and replicable way to approach the phenomena of your interest, which in this case has to be related with personality growth, right? In the context of the course. So this methodology that we use, it is based, as I mentioned in the workshop, in order to have it and to be scientific, our studies to be scientific, we need empiricism, systematicity, and replicability. So in order to determine what is happening with our constructs, what kind of measures do we have for them, how one phenomena actually relates to another one, we have systematic reviews. This is the way you can tackle and you can really try to find some evidence regarding the phenomena that you want to study. So a systematic review is a review of the evidence on a clearly formulated question. So the systematic review always starts with a research question and uses systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and critically appraise relevant research on a specific topic in order for you to extract and analyze data from them. So this is the method. This is the method that we can use, and I highly recommend that you do. This research practice consists in an approach that is systematic and replicable in order to obtain the state of the art of your topic of interest. This kind of task is so valuable that constitutes a type of quantitative or qualitative research, and it is highly publishable. Actually, nowadays, conducting a systematic review, it is often the first step that a PhD student in psychology has to take. Actually, the first year is about conducting a systematic review. So I highly recommend you. This is a way for you to conduct an empirical research if you are trying to understand better a specific phenomena within personality growth. Actually, I don't know if you can remember, but for example, Buki, the talk that we had online, she was conducting a systematic review about her topic, which was about time traveling. And also Aku was also presenting a narrative review about his topic, which was about free will beliefs and self-efficacy, I think, and also locus of control. So they went this way. So now in this session, we will see how, if you are interested in doing something like this, what are the steps that you need to take. So let's talk about the different kinds of literature reviews that we have. We have different ones, and it is a good idea for you to know them better. But before that, let's talk about the goals that we seek when we are conducting a systematic review. First of all, we can, with a review, we can identify the theories, the construct, and the variables of the phenomena of interest. We have to identify what has been done, who are the experts in the field, and what are the main results up to date. So this is the kind of information that you want to recover, right? You can also find out about the research design that are currently being used to understand that phenomena. And also you can, if you are identifying the gaps in these current studies, obviously you can start thinking in what to do next, and what is needed in that field. So this is why it is really important. These kind of reviews are highly publishable and in many different journals. Some journals are actually specialized in reviews. So it is a great way to start conducting empirical research. And regarding the different kinds of literature reviews, we basically have 4 kinds. So the traditional literature review, also called narrative review, maybe is the kind of review that you already conduct in your studies in order to find the state of the art. So in this case, there are we don't need systematicity, we don't need pre-registration, we don't need a search strategy. So it is not very systematic, right? And because the method that you follow in order to perform that review, because you don't explain it, so it is not replicable. So this one is the less, we can say, is the less specialized or the less scientific. Then we have the scoping review. So a scoping review, it's a bit more systematic. It has a research question, but this research question is general, and the pre-registration is not mandatory. So this is the difference with a systematic review. So we are going down into the core. The systematic review answers questions that are more specific, and you need to pre-register your protocol in order to be valid and we will discuss about that later today. And you have to be really clear about the methodology that you are following in order to include or exclude studies and the way you are extracting all the information. You have to assess bias in all the papers that you are including. You need a research strategy in order to recover all the materials that should be there. So it's really a more systematic way to do it. And at the end, in the core, we have a meta-analysis. So the meta-analysis look at studies from a systematic reviews and combines a lot of data obtained by different studies and even from different systematic reviews, and takes the data and then conduct new statistical analysis. And now, because you have a bigger sample, then you have more statistical power. And this kind of review can actually overturn results from small studies. So this is the one with the biggest impact, the meta-analysis. And this one, you need to perform statistic, and mainly, this is not the most difficult thing, performing this statistic. The more difficult thing in order to perform a meta-analysis is to actually have access to the data, right? Because you are recovering all the information, and sometimes you are just recovering the information they report, not the actual data. So this is why it's a bit more complicated, and it is specific for some topics, because not all the topics are really research enough. We don't have enough information still in order to conduct this kind of analysis. And in these cases, you need to go to a systematic review. And also, if this topic is really new and there is not a lot of information, you are also not able to conduct a systematic review, and then you have to conduct an scoping review, which was the case of Buki, because her topic was a bit new. So in her case, because of the sample, she was conducting a scoping review. Okay? So here you can see in the screen the different kind of reviews that we have. Here you see the narrative review or traditional review, the scoping review, and the systematic review. And here you can see all the requirements in order to reach the systematic review. As you can see here, we need a review protocol. We need a registration of the protocol. We need a search strategy. We need to be clear regarding our extractions forms. We need to assess bias in the studies that we are looking into, and also assessing bias in our own review to see that we are doing it in the proper way. And finally, you have to be really clear in the way you summarize findings. So as you can see here, a narrative review or a traditional review, it doesn't require any of this. And if you want to conduct a systematic review, you have to do all of them. So, and then a scoping review is more in the middle, and some things, like for example, the pre-registration is not required. And actually, for the main website where you can pre-register your review, actually is not possible. Even if you want to, in this website, Prospero, you cannot register scoping reviews. So there are some other websites that can help you with that if you want to register. So basically, this is for you to know the requirements and the kind of rigor of each one of these kinds of literature reviews. Okay, as I was telling you before, the meta-analysis is the one with the biggest impact, and it is basically consists on getting the data from all these studies and then conducting new statistical analysis, because you are adding all this data, then your sample size is growing, and then you have more statistical power. These terms that you see here, statistical power, sample size, p-levels, effect size, all of this we will see when we are discussing statistics and inferential statistics specifically. So don't worry too much if you are not able to follow completely what is happening there. However, it's good for you to know that these kind of reviews exist. They are really the impact of this kind of reviews is huge, and this is the most, let's say, they are the most scientific that we have so far. Okay, so regarding the protocols that you need to follow in order to conduct your review, well, the protocol is actually just a description or how you will conduct your systematic review. And you have to include the rationale, your hypothesis, and the methods that you will follow. We have different protocols. However, the PRISMA statement, which is the preferred reporting items for systematic review and meta-analysis, is one of the ones that is widely spread around the world, and is the one that I will recommend to you. So you can follow these steps, and they have a 27-item checklist that you need to perform in order to actually conduct a systematic review. You have to click each one of the points. Actually, they have some materials that is fillable online, so you can download this and then start filling it, and it really can describe all the steps that you need to follow. I left in the Moodle platform, I left for you all these manuals. So you can, if you're interested in this, you can go there and you can look at how to conduct a step-by-step a systematic review following the PRISMA statement. So basically, for you to know, the PRISMA statement consists of two things. First of all, the checklist, and I have an example here for you, the way you should structure the title, for example, the way you should structure your abstract, and then what kind of things you need to include, for example, in your methods, eligibility criteria, information sources, search, study selection. So all of these things, you need to go step by step, and then you have to report your findings. And this is the second part of the PRISMA statement. This kind of flow diagram, you need, once you perform your search and you are selecting the kind of studies that you will include, and then you have to fill this flow diagram, and it needs to go into your publication. So basically, the PRISMA statement is about following these two things, the list and then filling the flow diagram. Okay, so this PRISMA statement was originally just for systematic reviews. However, in 2018, they published a new PRISMA statement where they can already start describing the methods in order to perform scoping reviews. So you have different checklists, and I left you all of this in the Moodle platform. Either if you go for a scoping review or if you want to go for a systematic review, you have to follow different steps. And also, I left you there a publication trying to describe more in depth how can you distinguish in your phenomena that you are particularly interested, which one is better for you, right? If the scoping review or the systematic review. Okay, so basically now that we discussed the kind of reviews, the protocols that you have to follow, let's talk about the pre-registration, because you want to make sure that your work is open, transparent, and everybody can replicate your findings. See, this is why we are calling it replicable and systematic, because you have to be really clear in the steps you are following, and you have to make them public. Everybody can go there and can see the plan that you have and the kind of strategies that you were implementing. So they can know that you are actually doing it in the proper way and including all the sources that should be included. So basically, the main website in order to register your systematic review is Prospero. Here you have the link. So if you are interested in that, you go here. It's free. And it is really easy. You only need to follow these 5 steps. Basically, it's just including your data. You have to fill a specific format that they have with your methods, and then it's registered, and that's it. So this is the way that you want to do it. And if you want to register a scoping review, remember, it's not possible in this website. So there is some other websites that you can look in order to do that. However, remember in our previous slide, it is not mandatory to do it. So you can do it, but you don't have to. You can still publish without doing this. This is regarding the registration. Now let's talk about the last thing, which is uh, really creating a search strategy in order for you to conduct a systematic review. And the search strategy is just an organized combination of keywords, phrases, subject headings, and limiters used to search in a database. So we have different databases. Some of them are medical databases, some others are within psychology, for example, but we also have some broader ones that are in general, let's say, humanities. So here I can recommend you these three, for example. I will recommend you these three. Well, Web of Science, I will also add it. Scopus, PsycInfo, and PubMed are some of the databases that you can really are really popular in our field in psychology, and also in many topics that are related to social sciences. And for example, in PsycInfo, you need to subscribe and you need to pay. And for Scopus, maybe you need the credentials for the university in order to access it. But for example, PubMed, which is one of the largest, really large ones, and is for free. So the practice we will be doing today is in PubMed, and you will start seeing how it's actually conducting a review with a search strategy. And now let's discuss what is a search strategy, or how to make a search strategy in order for you to conduct a literature review. Well, the search strategy is just an organized combination of the same things like keywords, phrases, subject headings, and limiters in order for you to find a specific information of the phenomena of your interest. So basically, we have building blocks of a search strategy. And one of the building blocks are obviously the terms that you will use. If you want to do some research about personality growth and locus of control, for example, then you are using words, right? Natural language, the words. So this is one strategy. But we also have in these databases something that is really helpful, and are control vocabulary. And these control vocabulary are standardized terms assigned to publications in order to indicate the topic which they belong. So these control vocabulary are a way to have everybody using the same words in order to mean the same things. So it is like it is a organization made by the experts. In this case, every author that is publishing, they have to select a specific control vocabulary to make their study dependent on that topic. And then that in this paper they will discuss these specific topics, because sometimes you have specific words, and even though the work is the same, but the topic is not the same. So this is where this kind of control vocabulary are helpful, and they have different names. For example, for PubMed, these control vocabulary are called mesh terms. Mesh is standing for medical subject headings. And for example, in PsycInfo, they are called thesaurus. And some other websites, databases, will be called a different one. So this is just for you to know. And the practice that we will be doing today, we will do it in mesh term. Okay, so when you are building a search strategy, you need the terms, you need the mesh terms, and then you need operators. I'm sure you already know these connectors in order to make logical relationship between words. For example, if you want to search personality growth and locus of control, then you know you must have the two of them in order to have results. So in this case, you can see here in the databases, you need to use it with capital letters, for example. And then we have some others like quotations or parentheses or truncations, for example. For example, in the case of the parentheses, is everything you put in the parentheses, it will get you back the specific words in the specific order. So if you want to keep that order, then put quotation marks. And these kind of operators are really useful in search in order for you to be more specific. I left you in the Moodle platform, I left you a video where you can see how all these operators are used and how to implement it in your search. And not, for example, here we have the truncation, and then the truncation, you can see if you are searching for health and then asterisk, and then it will return health, but for example, health care or healthful or healthier, right? So this is the function of the asterisk. They are really easy to use and really straightforward. Well, another thing that you need to know to build a search strategy is that in the databases, we have different field searches. So you can ask to the database to search just in the title, the words of the mesh terms just in the titles, or titles and abstract, or in all the paper. So it's up to you. It's up to you how you want to construct your search. It has to do with how many results you are getting, because sometimes if you are too broad, you will get 1600, right? And obviously you won't be able to look into that many. So this is why you want to be more specific and build your search in this way. So here I put an example of how our search strategy looks in the databases. For example, here I was looking self-concept, which is a mesh term, and then I add the operator and post-traumatic growth, that it is also a mesh term, and then and I added a limitator, which is from 2013 up to date, right? In order to have the more recent research. So this is how you build a search strategy. And now we will see an example of this, and we will go into the website. I want you all to go to PubMed, but before I want to show you in my computer how this website looks and what kind of things you can do to start searching for your topic of interest. At this point, do we have any question? No question. Okay.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Matthias?
Yeah, hi guys.
Hi.
A simple question. All these slides we can download it in our computer after the session.
Yes, Matthias, I will place the slides in the Moodle platform, and then you will also have access to this video, so you can watch it again. And then also you have all the materials with another videos, and then the specific steps that you need to follow in order to perform this kind of reviews. You will have everything in the website.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, sometimes the video will actually take like 3 or 4 days to go online, because before I need to send it to editing, but then you can go and you will find it there. Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen. Can you see now?
We ask more questions? Sorry, I raised my hand. I didn't know. Are we supposed to use the raise hand function?
Yeah. Tell me.
Okay, well, so I had asked in the chat earlier if we can turn on captions. Is that still possible?
Yeah. Okay, I see in the chat.
Yeah, sorry, I use the chat a lot. My students do too. But the other, I had two other quick questions. So one is, when you talk about pre-registration, can you say a little bit more about like when you would do that? I mean, do you do it because like you might be like, I want to conduct a lit review, and then you find out, and then you like register it, and then you're like, oh shit, there's not like anything out there on it, or like, so would you wait until you've already kind of collected a bunch of stuff and read a bunch of stuff to pre-register?
Yeah, I will definitely. You need to do some exercises first, like the one we will do today, in order to find out what is out there, right? Actually, I want to show you how to explore the mesh terms that we have available up to date, right? And then you start looking what is out there and what is the kind of term they use. Is this term actually an umbrella for the kind of phenomena that I want to research? So you are already doing some things, and then you are already start treating your formula, and you are saying, in this way, if I just add the Boolean operator and without a not, for example, I'm getting 2,000 papers. Like, I cannot perform a review with 2,000. And then you have to be more clear. And then you are tweaking your formula already. And once you know that you want to perform this kind of review, you already know how many articles you can find about that. And then if you are able to have enough articles to perform a systematic review, which I will say I will recommend more than 30 articles in the same topic in order to perform a systematic review. If you have less than this, I will recommend a scoping review, because it is at a stage that is exploratory still. So now that you know this, Amber, then you start working on your final search strategy, and then you want to pre-register at that stage.
You're going to show us how to search for mesh terms, because that was my other
Exactly.
question. So
Yes.
that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Let's go and let's go. Well, I will show you my screen first. So as you can see here, we have PubMed. So you actually need to use several databases. So when you are conducting a review, you need to include like 5 or 6, because people they will read your paper, they want to know that you were actually thorough and systematic, right? So we will go with PubMed right now because it's free and because it really has a lot of things, and I can show you how to build a search strategy here in a really easy way. So obviously, as any search engine, you could just type here, like, for example, self-efficacy. You can just type it and then search, but this is just the regular way to do it. It can be really messy. For example, here I have 90,000 results, right? So it is not really specific. So as we already see in this session, you can go into the advanced mode, and here you can build your search strategy. In this box that you can see here, the formula, it will start like shaping. For example, if I want to, let's say, if I want to use in mesh terms, let's say I want to search, let's say, self-control, for example, and then I add it, and then you will see it in the query box, and then you can add another one. For example, let's say I want to search also in mesh terms. I want to search, for example, self-efficacy. And then I say and it will add it. Can you see? And let's say I want to put a limitator here, and then I go searching here, and then I see where I can put a limitation on the data and the date, the date, entry date, or publication date. Let's say publication, and then I can put here, if I want to do the last 10 years, so I have to do it like this. And then to present date, and then I added in order for the formula to recover self-control and self-efficacy papers within the last 10 years, right? So this is the way you are building your search strategy. You can also add another term with an or a not, and you can say in a specific field. For example, you can search for a term in all fields, which is the abstract, the title, and the whole paper. Or you can also say, just look for it in the abstract. I want this word to be that important in the paper that I just want it in the abstract. And then you can add it here. And then you can build a really huge search strategy here. And then to go for your results, you only click search, and then you go, and then you find. Can you see here? Now I have 63 results because it's more refined, because I was adding stuff to it. So this is the way where you can really easily build a search strategy in PubMed. Now, let's go to the mesh terms, which are actually really interesting, especially for you, because since you are new in psychology, you want to know exactly which kind of construct they are using in order to refer to a specific phenomena, right, of your interest. So you go here when it says explore, and then mesh databases, and then you click there, and you can find the search engine. For example, here, we can search personality, for example. And then you search just personality, and then you have some options, right? You are starting to look what is out there. For example, here we have antisocial personality, assessment of personality, right? And you can start looking what kind of things is more of your interest. In our case, let's see this, for example, personality development, right? So I click in this mesh term, and then I search it, and then I can see that this term exists, and then what kind of other constructs are actually in this umbrella of personality development. So we can see here that some of the variables are actually self-concept, for example. We have, for example, extraversion, which is, we are talking about traits here, for example. And then you can find if, for example, self-concept is closer to your topic, and if you want to talk about self-efficacy, social compassion, and then you can see what kind of things they already have in these categories. And then you can start knowing what kind of mesh term you can use, and then you go to the advanced builder, and then you can start once again building your search strategy. So it is actually really intuitive, and I don't know, at this point, do you have a question for me? I would like you to go right now to PubMed and to try it out. Either if you want to search for some mesh terms that may be related to your topic of interest, or start playing with the search strategy builder. I will like you to go there and to search for any topic that you find interesting, and please look at some papers. Quickly look into the abstract of at least, let's say, 5 papers, and then extract some information from them. Let's say the kind of constructs they use, the measures they use, or the methods they use. Just with the abstract, you can already know a little bit about the results that they are reporting, the methods that were used. And I would like to hear some of you to see if you find something interesting. So we can devote, let's say, 15 minutes for this activity. And if you have any question for me, I'll be here so we can go through it. Okay, I think we can come back at this point, how it went. Do any of you would like to share what you found?
Well, just a comment from my end. Found
Yeah,
myself into the weeds of a number of theoretical papers. But I found the similar article section very, very helpful in the realm of theology and psychology and spiritual development. So certainly no shortage of material. But yeah, that similar articles section there is what sort of had led my whole exploration here in the last 15 minutes. So very helpful, actually.
Okay, that's good to hear, Andrew.
I had kind of an opposite issue. I was getting like very few results, or sort of no results. So I kept playing around then with terms to sort of see if it was the wrong term that I was using. But yeah, so I could see that was going to take a while. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you think it was too specific. Maybe you can go broader and broader.
I mean, trauma. I was using trauma and post-traumatic growth. I was using inherited trauma, post-traumatic growth. There was nothing.
Okay.
So then just going through trauma, you know, so I thought, well, okay, maybe I thought that would be a broad term, but
yeah, this is why it's good to conduct this kind of
the
exercises.
combinations.
Yeah, I actually, before this session, I was doing some searches myself, and then I found something interesting regarding post-traumatic growth. Can you see my screen? Here, for example, I have post-traumatic growth and self-concept, and some of the papers, like with this search, I only have 15 results, which is really focalized. But the research that I find here is really pertinent. So actually, it was really interesting, the kind of things post-traumatic growth that have published there. So in your case, because of the kind of trauma that you were searching, I think this was the issue. It was too specific. So you will want to go broader at the beginning and then start reading at some of the papers that you are getting, and then maybe detecting what kind of terms they are using to refer to this kind of trauma that you are particularly interested. Because maybe the term that you're trying to use is not the one that most people uses. It could be the issue.
Maybe I can. I'm still not sure I quite understand what is the deal with mesh terms, because I found it much easier to use the search engine without the mesh terms. Kind of, I think I'm getting closer to the results that I would like to have, but as I said, I'm not quite sure what's the difference if I put the mesh term or the just regular search with the same term.
Sometimes when you're using certain terms, and sometimes it can mean different things. So they can refer to post-traumatic growth, for example, in a different context. And then when you are finding it within the mesh term is being specific about the kind of topic that is referring to. So you are sure that if this set of words was found within a mesh term, they are talking about the same thing. So this is why mesh terms are usually better, because it is a way to have a more structure in your search and to actually be addressing the topic in the way the most experts are actually addressing to this topic. The way the mesh terms are selected is by a group of experts, and included the author of the paper. Mm-hmm. So when you are publishing something, you have to say that, can you hear me? I see everybody frozen. Yeah, you can. Okay. Everybody's frozen in my screen, so I was thinking I lost the connection. So mesh terms are really useful in this way, in the way that it will help you not to lose a lot of time. Because if you are using the regular word, then you will find out that you are retrieving a lot of studies that doesn't relate that much to your topic. And when you are using the mesh term, they are more related to your actual topic. This is why it's better to use them. And it is great because sometimes it can help you to understand the kind of definition that people like experts are giving it to you, to your kind of phenomena of interest. This is why they are really helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have any other,
yeah, can you explain us again how to combine the items by doing the research? I tried. Well, I'm proud I found PubMed, and I'm proud I found that research line, and I've written concepts of God, concepts of God, and I found 569. And then I added and personal, and I found 388. And then I wrote from 2010 to present date, and I had 234. But how to, if I want to, then I proved it, and I added and fear, and I had 15 results. So I think I understood it. But how to add these topics and what I want to say? No.
and mesh,
You don't
and mesh
understand,
terms.
Nora?
Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody. Can you hear me now? I think. Yeah, I was out. Like my internet, I think, is too weak. But Matthias, if I think I almost got into the end of your question. So if I
Yes, I want to. May I share my screen?
Yes, please do so, because I want to see if you are already using mesh terms or if you are using the just the word, the broader term.
So, do you see that? Do you see that?
Okay, so you don't have mesh terms there. Yeah.
Yes.
Will you like to add that?
So I started here. No, I don't. No, I didn't use mesh terms. I started with concepts of God. I had 569. Then I added personal. I had 388. And then I wanted to say, okay, look, concepts of God, look personal, but only starting with 2010. And then I added in my all fields data here, okay, date publication from that 2010 to present. And then he gave me 60,700.
Yeah, I think somehow the
I
formula lost some of the previous specifications. So it's about the formula. And then in the number 8,
strings that might actually be relevant to what I'm interested in. And then I think, Sasha, I think I had the opposite thing for you. So I just put in the regular search box, like, quote, spontaneous abortion and personality development. And I got 8 results, most of them from the 1970s. But then when I put them in as mesh terms in the advanced search, I got like 76 results. So it was like exactly the opposite for me as it was for you. So I don't know why that is, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm really glad that even though I was out of the conversation for some time there because of my connection, I'm glad that you are still in the conversation and sharing. And yeah, exactly because of that, it is a good idea to use mesh terms. Actually, this is one of the things that makes PubMed one of the best search engines. Also, PsycInfo. In PsycInfo, these terms are called thesaurus. And they are really great because they can really tell you what kind of constructs are more solidified and they have more specific definitions and then better measures. So it's a more scientific approach into this phenomena of your interest. See, this is why you will want to use it. And if you don't find it with the term that you are searching, like browse around, explore, and see how they are actually referring to this kind of phenomena. So explore some other terms that may relate to your topic. Exactly. Okay, guys. Well, it's great. I'm sorry about my connection. I'm in a hotel right now. It's an awful connection. This won't happen again. I hope so. But before we leave this session, I want to say a few more things. And can you see my screen now? Can you see it in full? Let's click it. Okay. So I wanted to say a few final things. And one of the things is when you are out there searching for literature, you have to be careful regarding gray literature, right? Because these kind of materials that are produced by organizations outside the traditional or the academic publishing, then so you don't want to completely avoid them, because sometimes some results are not published just because of publication bias. So even though you are finding some great publications there, you need to be careful to include it or exclude it, but you cannot just ignore it. So be aware of this, and we will discuss a little bit more about publication bias in our next session. So, but this is something that you need to have in mind. And finally, as you can imagine, searching for a lot of papers and then going through the results and trying to extract the data will be a big task. This is why I want to recommend a few tools that you can use in order to organize all the information that you will be recovering. So basically, well, I can recommend, I'm sure maybe you already use them, RefWorks or EndNote or Mendeley. Actually, Mendeley is for free and it is great. It is doing everything online for you. So this is the one that I used. I will recommend it. And it is great because you install it in your computer and then you are saving all the PDF that you are finding, and then Mendeley is extracting the main information, and then you can just go and organize it, and you have it everything there, and you can always track when you find it and the kind of information it's giving you. You can write notes, and so it's great. It's a great tool for you to use. Okay, so in final remarks, I just want to tell you that in the search of really having a psychological science regarding psychology, we really need to be careful regarding having theory-based construct and having valid and reliable instruments in order to assess the things that we want to assess. Obviously, also have clear hypotheses in order to test them, obviously in quantitative research with statistical analysis, although we have some other methods. And you also want to have various samples and replicate your findings. So this is the path that you need to follow in order to have a scientific empirical paper. And I highlighted here that conducting a systematic review is actually tackling the first one and the second one. This is why it's a great way for you to introduce into empirical research. Okay, so this is the only thing I wanted to say. Here you see the path of conducting empirical research. As you can see here, we start with the research question. Then second step, conducting a literature review, and then we continue, right, until data collection, and finally analyzing the data and reporting. So this step is really important, and hopefully you find it interesting and you will continue practicing. So I don't know, do you have any other question, any other comment before saying bye for today? No comments? Everything clear? Okay.
Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you.